What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today it's finally time to cover one of the most requested topics that people are asking me, and that is what happens when you combine suppressor and long barrel on various guns. We're not going to cover every single gun in the game because this is all hand tested, so this did take quite a long time to test and put together, even though I only covered one or two guns from each different class. But when you look at the hard stats of all of the guns in the game, I picked guns that are going to be an excellent representation of what will happen with the rest of the guns within that same class. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so for those of you that haven't seen my best suppressed weapons in Black Ops 3 video, where I picked my top favorite guns to use suppressed in the game, and I showed you guys the ranges when it's suppressed and when it's non-suppressed, you should go and watch that first because I do share a lot of information there. One thing to keep in mind with that is suppressors were buffed kind of in the middle of when I was putting that video together. So all of the hand testing and the ranges that I shared in that video were after the buff. So they're current and they are the most recent stats for the suppressor. But the numbers that I shared in that video were off because we didn't have the patch notes yet. We didn't know anything had changed, but it turns out it did change just before I did my hand testing. So the numbers themselves have been changed, but the hand testing that I did is exactly the same. So let's look at the KN-44 now in a lot more detail when we include the long barrel attachment. As you guys may or may not know if you keep track of the hard stats, the KN-44 is always the exception to the rule with assault rifles. It doesn't follow the same rules for long barrel, and it doesn't follow the same rules for suppressor. All of the other assault rifles fall into the same category. The KN-44 is in a category of its own. And as you can see, with long barrel, you get a little bit more of a 3-shot kill potential. Not much, like only a couple feet. It's not really going to be that noticeable, so honestly, it isn't really worth running. The hard stats, I believe, say it's a 13% increase. As you can see, if we add a suppressor, it does reduce that range a little bit from the no attachments range, but again, it's not super significant. It's not like night and day. It's just a few steps, basically. And then finally, if we combine long barrel and suppressor, you'll see it kind of splits the difference there. So the long barrel doesn't exactly counter the suppressor. A lot of people seem to think that if you put long barrel and suppressor, then they'll just kind of cancel each other out as far as range. So you get all of the benefits of the suppressor without any of the downsides. That's not quite the case. You get a small increase in range, but it's still not going to be the same 3-hit kill potential as when you have no attachments on it whatsoever. Next up, let's have a look at the Man of War. And I did want to test the Man of War specifically because it does take full advantage of the long barrel attachment in Black Ops 3. It gets a 100% increase in range. It doubles its range when you add a long barrel on it. So as you can see, with no attachments, it has a great 3-shot kill range. It's actually 38 meters, I believe, is the actual stat on that. Excellent 3-shot kill range, but when you put long barrel on there, you'll basically just never see the 4-shot kill range. Technically, there is still a 4-shot kill range, but it's so far off this graph that I don't even know if I can find a line of sight long enough to make it a 4-shot kill. So therefore, I just said it's basically always going to be a 3-shot kill when you have long barrel attached. Now, when you add a suppressor, you also get all of the downsides of all of the other assault rifles with a suppressor. And right now, after the patch, it is currently a 65% reduction in your range when you run a suppressor on an assault rifle. So very noticeable difference here. And I would definitely not recommend running just a suppressor on the Man of War, because you can see that 3-hit kill range is actually right around the 3-hit kill range of the KN-44, but you have a slower fire rate, so it's just outclassed by the KN-44 suppressed in every single way. Now finally, if we combine long barrel and suppressor, once again it kind of splits that difference, and it gives us a decent 3-shot kill range. That's a pretty good 3-shot kill range. So if you are going to run a suppressor on the Man of War, I do recommend running long barrel as well, because it does take that terrible suppressed range down to something that's a little bit more realistic and manageable. It's still not going to be excellent, but it will help a lot. Just to show you guys a little bit more with the assault rifles to show that it's not just the Man of War that's the exception, I tested the HVK-30 as well, which has the identical range values as the Man of War. It just takes more shots to kill at those ranges. And the exact same thing happens when you put on long barrel, or you put on suppressor, or you put on both long barrel and suppressor. You have the exact same range values, just with an extra shot to kill, but a higher fire rate as well. All of the other assault rifles follow this exact same trend. Moving on to the SMGs, this is where things get really interesting. As you can see here with the VMP, with no attachments compared to long barrel, it doesn't actually affect your maximum damage range. So your 4-shot kill range is completely unchanged. It's exactly the same. It only affects your 5-shot kill range for the VMP. And this goes for all of the SMGs when you put long barrel on. It doesn't increase your maximum damage range, it only increases your minimum damage range. Now, if we add a suppressor, which we saw in the previous video, it cuts down both your 5-shot and your 4-shot kill range a little bit. The exact percentage is actually 30% now post-patch, so it reduces both ranges by 30%. Now, when we combine long barrel and suppressor, it's very interesting. The long barrel still has no impact on our 4-shot kill range, which is exactly what you'd expect if you look at the hard stats, but a lot of people didn't realize this. Long barrel plus suppressor does not increase your 4-shot kill range at all, but it does increase your 5-shot kill range just a little bit. Again, it kind of splits that difference between the no attachments VMP and the suppressed VMP. All of the other SMGs follow this exact same trend, so I'm only going to show you the VMP for this. Just keep in mind you'll have to adjust because they all have different ranges, but they follow the same trend. The maximum damage range is unchanged with long barrel, and it's only the minimum damage that is ever changed when you put long barrel on. Now, I'm not going to cover LMGs because you can't use long barrel on LMGs anyways, so we're just not going to cover those at all. But one other gun that a lot of people have been wondering about is the Argus, and whether or not they should run long barrel on it, and if they run suppressor, can they run long barrel to negate that suppressor? And as you can see here, when you put long barrel on the Argus, it will increase your maximum range. This is the furthest that you can be away while still getting a hit marker on your enemy. Any further away from this, you will get no hit whatsoever. And one thing to also point out within this range is this will never be a one-hit kill on an enemy that has full health. The one-hit kill potential is actually unchanged when you add the long barrel to it. And this is why I don't recommend running long barrel on the Argus. It doesn't actually change your one-hit kill potential, it just changes your hit potential. Now, if we add a suppressor, your maximum hit range remains exactly the same as when we had no attachments on it, but your one-hit kill potential is cut in half and then some. So obviously, you don't want to be running the suppressor on the Argus because the only strength that the Argus really has is that it has an insane range and an insane one-hit kill potential. Take that one-hit kill potential away and this thing is next to useless. So this is where a lot of people were wondering, well, if I put a long barrel on, will it cancel that out? And no. The long barrel still increases your maximum hit potential to the same maximum hit potential as when you didn't have the suppressor, but it doesn't change your suppressed range at all. Your suppressed one-hit kill range is identical with or without long barrel on there. So there you guys have it. This is something that a lot of people have been requesting, and I hope this cleared up a lot of the misconceptions. A general rule of thumb is long barrel does not counter suppressor by any means, but on all of the assault rifles, aside from the KN-44, it may be worth it to run long barrel with suppressor if you want just that little bit of extra range when you're running the suppressor. With the KN-44 though, I just say it's not worth the attachment and it's fine as is when it's just suppressed. For SMGs, I would pretty much just say never use long barrel on SMGs. It's not really going to help you too much for your up-close ranges. It only helps for your minimum damage range, which, yes, it might help in some situations, but most of the time with SMGs, if you're playing like it is an SMG, you're trying to keep yourself within that maximum damage range, and therefore the long barrel isn't really doing anything for you here. And then finally, for the Argus, I would just say don't use long barrel and don't use suppressor on it. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video on long barrel versus suppressor. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.